Welcome back, guys. This is my spoiler review for the 5th and 6th episode of Outer Range. So once again, we have an amazing 2 episodes of Outer Range. I'm really enjoying this show. But once again, we didn't get a little sneak peek into that time void, other universe world in the future place that we got at the end of episode 2. So a little bit disappointed. Really just want to get back into that time period, other world, whatever it is. But you know, apart from that, really enjoyed these episodes. So in these 2 episodes, they do a lot of kind of people being like, it's mostly awesome Mrs. Hippie Hitchhiker character, and she's mostly just going around being like, it's time, the void is time, it's time, and she keeps saying it's time itself, all this stuff. It's a little mineral dust rocky thing of time. But I have a feeling that this might be a misdirect and that she thinks it's time because he's like, I was in the future, it looked like the future or whatever. I don't think that's what it is, because he gets the necklace of time voidness, and you know, he crushes it and it gets all over his hands and it melts into his hands and stuff. And then Roy has this like vision, and it looks like maybe him dying in that other world or in the future or whatever, but Autumn has the necklace. So I think it's a parallel universe. Like, it's the same as our world, but the little things are a bit different or whatever. I think that makes more sense because her necklace is still like intact and he's literally just crushed it. So it can't be intact in the future. And of course, it could just be like a different necklace with a different rock, and she'd be like, I just love making necklaces. This is necklace part 2, 2.0 necklace. But I don't think that's what it is. I think the necklace was there very clearly. She's in that same yellow dress as in episode 2 when she's there and she's all like, whoa, we're in the future or maybe a parallel universe. So I think parallel universe. That's kind of where I'm going. I think that would kind of be the most interesting thing in terms of like doing stuff later. There are a lot of other shows, I don't want to say their names for spoilers in case you haven't seen them, but parallel universes can be really fun when done well, and kind of looking at these 2 people that are almost the same, but they've made different choices, different mistakes, what's good mistakes? Good choices, I guess. And when you kind of compare and contrast the 2, you know, kind of different lives and how people kind of lead them and how little choices make differences, I think all of that would be really interesting, rather than just being like, it's in the future. It's just in the future. So I don't know. That would still be really cool. I'm not saying that wouldn't be, but I think parallel universe at this point could be kind of just more interesting. Although, that being said, there does seem to be a lot of evidence that it is kind of time travel, apart from her just being like, it's time and travel time, it's the time void, and doing all that stuff. You know, you saw her, she's all screaming about time the whole episode. Singing Billy, he finds out about the big void, and she's like, it's time, Billy, it's time, singing Billy, it's time! But there is also, like, you know, we get the buffalo, it's got arrows sticking out of it, and that kind of implies like it came from a time when people were shooting bows and arrows. Although, now I'm saying that, Singing Billy had a bloody bow and arrow, so I don't know, maybe that's like a misdirect. We're like, oh, it's time travel. Look, it's probably back in the old bow and arrow times, you know, back when there was Legolas's about and all that stuff. But no, people are still using bow and arrows in this kind of area, so that could be a little misdirect. There was the mention of a mammoth. I need to see that mammoth. Speaking of big woolly animals, these last 2 episodes were all about the big CGI animals. We got CGI buffaloes, we got CGI mooses, we got CGI bears, we got little baby bears, we got big papa bears, we got so many bears going on. Oh, that moment where the bear gets up and it's all like, oh, I'm a big bear, and she just freaks out, gets on the ground. I'm like, oh my god, she's going to get revenanted. She's going to get revenanted so hard. And I was kind of like, I can't see her getting revenant. That would be utterly insane. And then the big bears are all like, rah! And then it has this bizarre moment where it looks into her eyes, she looks into it, she says a word. I tried to pause and rewind and get the subtitles working. I spent like 10 minutes. I don't know what the hell is going on, Prime Video. Why wouldn't the subtitles work? I would click subtitle, I'd click the font, and then I'd go back into the thing, and then just the subtitles wouldn't appear. I tried for like literally 10 minutes, and I was just like, I give up. So I think she said yellow, but for some reason, I think as I got so into trying to get the subtitle, I just couldn't properly hear what she was saying. And then the bear kind of says something back to her, but we don't see the bear's mouth, so it's not like the bear's all like, I'm Yogi Bear, I can talk. So I don't know, I think she's just losing her mind, but I don't understand why big Papa Bear, CGI Papa Bear, didn't attack and kill her. I don't know, she's got some kind of mystical juice going on where she's just like, gives off the vibe where the bear's like, I don't want to touch any of that. That's not for me. We also get a little baby bear that's dead, and it was really sad to see it. Like, at first you see it in the distance, I'm like, oh my god, a bear's died. That's sad and stuff. But then she gets up close and she's really big, and you're like, oh, it's just a little baby bear. And it was just, I don't know, very horrible and morbid, and just something about this beautiful looking animal that's just so young. I don't know, not ferocious and scary yet. It's just like, yeah, really sad to see it dead. Don't understand why it was dead. But then it got like real weird. Like she goes to bury it and then she's like, actually, no, I'm going to keep it in the shed and we're going to hang out, me and this dead baby bear. Then she gets it to stab herself and I'm just like, did I miss something that kind of implies why she was doing this? Kind of really want to know. I feel like I missed something. Like, I don't know. I just, there was a lot of stuff with like, you know, her religious beliefs and all this kind of stuff. Also, great to just see more of Cecilia. Like, I feel like in the first couple of episodes, she was kind of a bit like shortchanged. Like, she just kind of didn't get that kind of meaty, juicy stuff to kind of like, I don't know, focus on and deal with. And in this episode, we really start, or in these 2 episodes, sorry, we really start focusing on her kind of religious beliefs and how she's really struggling with them, with the fact that, you know, they're covering up her son's murder, but she's going to do that for her family. But what does that mean? What does that make her? All these kind of questions, all these kind of things which I found really, really interesting. And I guess the scenes with her and the little baby bear, I was like, I'm trying to figure out the metaphor, the symbolism of what's going on. Why did she get it to bite him? Like, first I'm like, is she just going to try and make it look like it attacked her so she killed it? And then I'm like, that seems bizarre and cruel. Like, she didn't have to pretend that she killed it. But I don't think that was it at all. And then there's that moment where she's sitting there in the shed and she's just sitting next to the baby bear. And I found that really unpleasant and really morbidly like, oh, it just made me feel really upset and sick and just like, I don't know, I'm like, I don't understand what's going on with this baby bear. I'd love to know what people think specifically about the baby bear and what that means. I don't know, just very odd. All these big CGI monsters, they better be preparing us for big mammoth. I want to see a mammoth in this show. I don't care how bad it looks. I want to see a big mammoth. I presume everyone's with me. Big mammoth all day, please. It would just be so crazy and amazing. That would just blow my mind. So Josh Brolin doesn't get a lot to do in the 5th episode, but in the 6th episode, he's like, once he gets a little glimpse into what he thinks maybe is the future, but I think it's the parallel, you know, universe dimension, whatever the hell's going on, he goes back and he's like screaming at the hippie hitchhiker, and she's all like, it's time, Roy, it's time! And he's like, don't you bloody talk about time to me, don't you tell my family, and he loses his mind. They drive really fast on the quad bike, and I'm like, I can't tell if this looks good or utterly atrocious. The CGI animals also have that where I'm like, wow, look at that moose in the distance. That looks amazing. And he shoots the bow and the moose is like, "Bow, bow, bow, bow," and it gallops away, and I'm like, oh boy, that's a little rough. I know it's a TV show, so I know they don't have big money budget. That's why when the bear appears, I'm like, half the time I'm like, that bear looks awesome, maybe even real at some point. And the bear gets real close right up to the camera, and I'm like, yeah, that fur effect, it's you're not nailing it, but the idea of a bear, I prefer to have a bear than not have a bear. So I don't really care how the bear looks, really. But yeah, she's on the quad bike, she throws herself off, she's broken her legs or damaged herself, and she's all, you know, all damaged up. And he just leaves her there, and I'm like, okay. Dog move. Like, I know she's done a lot, but that is brutal. She's going to die out there. But her leg injury is not as bad as it seems. She crawls back to town. He's burnt her tents, which seemed very overdramatic. Like, I felt like he could have just torn it up a little bit and been like, it's done. But I guess we wanted a big cinematic fire, and all the fire's lighting Josh Brolin's face, and he's all like, oh, I'm acting up a storm right now without talking. Look at me go. And it's like, I appreciate that. But burning the tent felt just like huge dramatic overkill. Like, he's throwing petrol everywhere. I'm like, it's not a house, man. Like, take it easy. After this hippie hitchhiker lady, she goes talking with Perry for a bit. They have a big thing, and she's like, I'm going to dob your father, and he's done all these awful things. I definitely think he murdered that other guy, you know, the guy who died. And a whole thing big explodes, and it all kind of comes out that she's going crazy because she doesn't get her pills. She's going a bit manic and a bit insane. And then she brands herself with the Abbott bloody, like, sigil. And I'm just like, what the hell? This is crazy. Like, I don't know. I know she's, like, kind of in a state where she's not going to go get a tattoo, but just cutting herself like that, I'm just kind of like, alright, she's really like getting to this kind of really intense point. I do wonder if her family, or maybe her found family, if she in fact is the daughter, but time travel or something. Also, I guess that's another reason why it's time travel, because she's probably the daughter. That makes sense. But also, I don't know, at the end when the daughter gets like cut and she walks out and she's all like looking up the sky, and we pan up to the sky and then we pan back down, I really felt like it was going to pan back down to like hippie hitchhiker lady and reveal like, oh, you didn't even really notice, but she's actually got a scar there. But they didn't do that. They just kind of went up to the sky and came back down to the same shot, the same scene. And I was like, that is not like that kind of filming convention. Like, you kind of do that big pan up and then pan back down. Time will have passed. Something will have happened. You're in a different scene. You're implying something. Just, I don't know, really weird, but I did like how at the end of the episode, she's crying, and then out of the darkness, we've got the big blue and red flashing lights of police justice, and it's coming through the darkness to kind of destroy their family, because Perry has decided to hand himself in. So the crime kind of who did the murder kind of aspect of this whole series has kind of been more of a focus than I kind of thought it would be. I kind of thought the sci-fi stuff would be more of a focus. I am more inclined to be interested in that sci-fi stuff rather than the crime stuff. I am really enjoying it. The chef's a great character. Really like all her family dynamic stuff, and the family's like, how dare you use us like that? How dare you use me like that? And all that stuff. Really fun stuff. Not fun, but just, interesting stuff. But I'm kind of surprised how quickly it's all, like, I know it's only going to be 8 episodes, so we're almost done. Like, it's just next week it'll all be done. But the idea that Perry's going to get caught and captured already is kind of crazy to me. I'm like, he's just going to go to prison, I guess? But also, I suppose maybe he's not, because the coroner's like, no, the body died at this time, not this time. I guess, oh my god, every time I keep talking, I'm like, there's definitely time travel. I suppose it's definitely time travel, because he's time traveled back. But, I don't know, maybe it's parallel universes, but then there's time... Oh no, it's starting to look more like it's definitely time travel. I do love it in a story when she's like, I know, she does that big monologue, the chef does that big monologue about trusting her gut feeling, and she's like, I got a gut feeling about this. And she almost quietly just says it to herself, so disappointed and just frustrated this is the truth, but she knows it in her heart that Perry did it. But then she's like, but the coroner, he's just wrong. Well, the coroner's not wrong, but what you don't know is time travel's involved. Or big, magical, sci-fi, science fiction-y, whatever the hell. A big cosmic void that she's unaware of is kind of to play in this big murder mystery situation. And I just love when a show is like, I've got all the facts, but there's one fact and it doesn't make sense. And I'm like, yeah, because you don't understand that you live in a crazy sci-fi universe. Like, when you figure out the big void as a thing to play, you'll be like, actually, it was the big sci-fi void. But now at this point, you're just like, I guess the coroner's just wrong. I'm really loving the soundtrack to this whole show. It's got this really good mix of like your classic ominous, like rumbling sci-fi kind of just unsettling sounds going throughout it. But then it also just like, here's a song, here's a cool rock pop song. And they just, I don't know, they're always nailing when to play things, when to like kind of pick and choose which moments to do. I'm just really, really enjoying the soundtrack just in general. So one aspect of these 2 episodes that I found kind of really disappointing, and I kind of understand it from a story perspective, kind of, but I'm also just like, I just want to see Will Patton act! Don't put him in a bed! How dare you put him in a bed and just comatose him, essentially, for 2 episodes? And I understand that it's like, his family then has like different dynamics playing, and they're all like, oh no, we can't do anything with the Will, because he's incapacitated, and they're trying to figure it out, and, all the minutiae with all of that. The mum's trying to be all big mama bear, and all the kids are like, we're just little cubs, we're not like big Papa Bear Dad Will Patton, and all this stuff, which is interesting, but I'm just being a little selfish, and I'm like, I don't care about story reasons, just give me Will Patton. Like, in these 2 episodes, he didn't do a big crazy monologue. Like, I guess the start of episode 5 appears, and he's like, oh, I found it, boys, I found it, boys. I'm like, do they know what's going on? But they don't appear to know what's going on, but Will Patton's going crazy. But then he has like a stroke and collapses, and it's like, oh, that's really disappointing. Like, at the end of episode 4, he was so excited, just like this mad rage of excitement and joy, and he's just going crazy. He's like, I found the void again! And we get a little quick flashback of him as a kid, and a big oily boy comes out of there, which made me go, could that be him from the future parallel universe? Or maybe that's Roy, who knows? Maybe Roy came out of the void and doesn't remember. Who knows what's going on? But yeah, just no Will Patton these episodes. Like, he's there, and he's all like, lying in a bed or whatever. But I want to see him act. I want to see him do a big monologue about how he's hungry, and he's hungry just for more, hungry for everything, or whatever. Or, how moths, they have sex with sound, or whatever the hell's going on. Where was that monologue? None of that, so really disappointing. But also, I mean, it's not that disappointing. I understand why it happened, I guess. But just give me more Will Patton, please. Overall, another great 2 episodes of Outer Range. We've got 2 episodes left. I would really love to see some more of that void. Is it time travel? Is it this? Is it that? Is it parallel universes? Really want to just get a little glimpse again of that. I hope it's not just kind of 2 episodes and then the finale cliffhanger is like, look inside the void again. I'd really like to get like at least a sequence or, a segment of an episode in there to kind of tease more. But yeah, overall, really, really enjoying it. Good stuff. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below. I'd love to know what everyone thought of these 2 episodes of Outer Range.